Tuesday, everybody. I'm a little earlier than normal. I thought I'd try this time out to see how it worked. Come on in, say your name, and let me know where you're tuning in from. Today, we're going to be talking about how to stay afloat after a reduction in income or a job loss. All right. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Carmen, and I'm a personal finance expert and strategist with Money Choices Today. And I help families create a plan for their money so that they can break the paycheck to paycheck cycle, eliminate debt, and increase their savings and investing. And so, besides helping families and individuals create a plan for their money, I have a website, moneychoicestoday.com. And on my website, I share different money articles, I have different money videos, different challenges, and you can take a look and see what services and how I can help you best get your money in order. So head on over to my site when you get a chance, moneychoicestoday.com. All right, I thought this was a good topic today. Whether you're currently in a situation of a reduction in income or job loss, I thought this would be some helpful information because ideally you want to be prepared before those things happen. But if it's happened, here are some things that you can do to stay afloat. And I thought it was a really important topic because 80% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. And any interruption in getting a paycheck can just essentially not be able to make people make their ends meet. Hey Kim, how are you? So it's important to know these strategies ahead of time, or again, if you're currently going through it, some of these strategies will be able to help you get through. So one of the first things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to communicate about it. This is definitely not the time to sit back in the corner, go off and by yourself, and try to think through it yourself. It's a lot of emotional and psychological things that happen when you have a reduction in your income or you have a job loss. And so talking to a trusted family member or friend, or you may need to even see a therapist or something like that to kind of help you talk through what you're going through so that you'll be able to manage through. You definitely want to talk with your family about it. I'm speaking of your spouse and your children. Everybody needs to know what happens or what is going to happen because it impacts everybody. Now, I'm not saying scare the family, but I'm saying be upfront and honest about, for now, spending is going to change. A lot of times people try to make things be go as usual. And this is not the time to try to maintain any kind of normalcy when your income has been reduced or eliminated. And when you're having a conversation with your family, you're going to want to remove any emotion from it. So that's why you'll need to talk to somebody first so you can kind of work through those stages and remove the emotion so that when you talk to your family, it's a normal conversation and a fruitful conversation so that they can know how the family is going to move forward in the short term. So after you talk to your family and you communicate, the next thing you're going to want to do is stop spending immediately. As I just mentioned, people try to keep things normal and keep doing the same things. This is not the time to do that. You're going to want to minimize expenses. So you're going to want to take a look and see what you can immediately cut that is not necessary. And when you don't have income coming in, there are a lot of things that are not necessary. I call those flexible expenses. So things like entertainment, going shopping, going to the movies, those type of things. I'm not saying you have to eliminate them completely, but you want to minimize them. I'm also talking about subscription services that you're not using. If you have a gym membership and you haven't been in the last 2 or 3 months, okay, maybe you have because it was on your list of goals for 2020. But you can go outside and walk. You can walk up and down your stairs. You can walk around the house. There are so many things that you can do at home instead of paying a gym membership, when right now you need to be saving your money and using it to take care of other expenses. So even with groceries, you may be used to having certain meals and certain things and not necessarily paying attention to what's on sale and things like that. You're going to want to start buying things that are on sale. Hey Siobhan, how are you? You're going to want to start managing your grocery shopping. If you're like me, sometimes I go to the grocery store and I just get what I want and I shop and things like that. I don't do that all the time though, because I have a budget. It's important to maintain a budget. And so during this time, you're definitely going to want to have a list. You're going to want to see which items are on sale. Perhaps they have chicken on sale this week, and so this week you guys may be eating chicken in a lot of dishes. I've been watching some videos because I was wondering how people handle when they don't have as much money to spend on groceries. And there are some really different YouTube videos out there about people spending like $25 a week to feed a family of 6 and things like that. And so you really have to become creative because you're going to want to hold on to as much cash as possible. And another thing with stop spending immediately, you're going to want to choose the most cost-effective options for whatever it is that you do. For instance, I only get gas on Tuesdays because I get a discount per gallon because that's when they have it. So you're going to want to think of different ways to minimize your expenses so that you can hold on to as much cash as possible. Now, after you stop spending immediately, the next thing you're going to want to start thinking about is how can I generate some quick income? Legally, that is. You're going to want to think about, do I need to get a part-time job? Do I have some things laying around the house that I'm not using that I can sell? Am I good at something? Do I make good chicken dinners or something like that? Are you going to want to start selling them? Whatever it is, you're going to want to start thinking of ways to generate some quick income to help you get over until you get your next opportunity. Another thing you're going to want to check on is if you can get unemployment. It varies, state by state, depending on the reason you no longer have your job. It significantly varies. And so you're going to want to check and go onto the unemployment insurance website and check and see if you're eligible to get some funds from the unemployment insurance. That will help you now. It's not going to replace what you were making, but it will help you until you get, again, your next opportunity. So after you think about ways to generate quick income, then you're going to want to make sure that you are following your budget. This is definitely not the time to shy away from your budget. Now more than ever, you need to pull that budget out, take a look, and as I was mentioning earlier, eliminate any unnecessary expenses right now and kind of tighten up on what you're spending. You're going to need to know exactly when your payments are due and how much they are, so that you can, if you have to, start to talk to creditors and things like that if you need to change your payment due dates. But let's not do that first. Let's take a look and make sure we know how much is due every month and the exact day that it's due. Following your budget is going to be key. Again, you're going to have to make these adjustments as necessary. One other thing you're going to want to do with your budget is you're going to want to track every expense. You should be doing that anyway, but if you aren't, hi, how you doing on Instagram? If you aren't, then you're going to want to start tracking your expenses. I've actually created an expense tracking spreadsheet that allows you to put the month, the day, the amount, the expense category, the type of expense, and things like that to help you track it so that you can see how much you're spending, because sometimes you may not realize how much you're spending until you actually see it. And for those of you on my Facebook page, in my Facebook group, I'm going to put the link to the expense tracking spreadsheet. And for those of you on Instagram, you can actually click the link in my bio, and the link is there for the expense tracking spreadsheet. Let me just type this real quick. Okay. So again, you're going to want to track every expense. I'm talking about if you go buy a pack of gum. I don't know if people still buy packs of gum or whatever, but a pack of gum, whatever it is, track everything so that you can see and you can eliminate all of the unnecessary spending. Hey, Malik. So that was the fourth thing you're going to want to do: managing and maintaining and focusing really significantly on your budget. The next thing is your emergency fund. Remember that money that you set aside for times just like this? It's really going to come in handy right now. But what I don't want you to do is immediately start spending your emergency fund. You're going to want to pull out an emergency plan. If you don't know what an emergency plan is, I'll link a video where I talked about it, where it's essentially you identifying when it's time to spend money. So for instance, if you think you're going to be out of work for just a month, then you may not dip into your emergency fund. If you think you're going to be out for 3 months, then you may want to start spending. But again, I'll link that video so that you can see the specific things that I talked about. Along with your emergency fund, you have to have an emergency plan, because what happens is you'll just start spending that emergency fund without any real plan, and you'll look up and you'll be out of money. So you want to make sure you have an emergency plan along with your emergency fund. And then after that, you're really going to want to focus on the next opportunity. A lot of times, it's not a bad thing to leave a position or things like that. You can start focusing on the next opportunity. This is the time that you're going to want to refresh your resume, update your LinkedIn, and really you're going to want to take an assessment of your current skills. Maybe you haven't added some of the things that you were doing in your last job on your resume, and those things will really stand out. You're going to want to take a look and see what kind of opportunities are out there for you so that you can move on. It's okay to move on. Trust me, I know. And then you're going to also want to reach out to your network. A lot of jobs are simply gotten through reaching out to your network. You have to reach out to your network. Blindly applying for positions sometimes work, not as much, and so you're going to want to reach out to your network. Now, if you haven't talked to somebody in 5 or 10 years, you're going to have to kind of be strategic about that, because they may think that you're just reaching out to them in this time. It's really important all the time to keep up with your network, whether it be sending them an email quarterly or something like that monthly, just checking in to see how they're doing, sharing an interesting article with them or something like that, so that they'll always you'll always be on their mind. Again, you don't want to reach out to people that you haven't talked to in forever when you're looking for a new position. So I'll run back through the things that you can do to stay afloat if you've had a reduction in your income or a job loss. You're going to want to communicate immediately, whether that be with family members or a trusted friend, to kind of talk through the emotions of it all. Then you're also going to want to share that information with your family so that they understand that things are going to change temporarily until that next opportunity comes. You're going to want to stop spending immediately. I mean, I know that's obvious, but sometimes people don't think about those things. They try to keep things normal, especially if you have children and things like that, so that they're not impacted. But it's important for them to learn now that things happen and adjustments have to be made. Then you're going to want to think about generating income. How can you quickly generate some additional income right now to help keep you going until your next opportunity comes? Budget. You're going to want to stay focused on your budget. You're going to want to make changes, and you're going to want to track your expenses. Again, I have that expense tracking sheet. I put the link in my Facebook, on my Facebook link, and then for Instagram, you can just click on the link in my bio. You're going to want to take a look at your emergency plan so that you can know when it's time to dip into your emergency fund. And then you're going to want to focus on the next opportunity. It could really be an exciting time to try something new. So again, don't let these things get you down and kind of get you in a rut where you can't do anything. It's okay to move on to the next opportunity. I hope this information was helpful, and I thank you for joining me. Join me next week when I'll be discussing another money topic. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave it in the comments below, or you can shoot me a DM, whatever it is that works best for you. Thanks again for joining me, and I will see you here next week. Bye.